Welcome to Beyond the Press Release, a production of Agoracom, in which we take the time to speak with small cap executives after they put out big news. With us today, we got not one, but two great executives with us. Rob Anson, CEO and founder, Fobi AI, trades in Canada under FOBI, for friends of the US, FOBIF. And with them, Daniel Petrov, CEO, Kiaro Holdings, trades in the stock symbol KO. A lot of you know about your company if they're being interviewed right now, but you may not know about the other. So let me give you a 20-second intro on each. Fobi, a global leader in providing real-time data analytics through artificial intelligence to drive customer activation and engagement in the brick and mortar and e-commerce space. And that's underselling it because they've built a technology stack on top of that that's second to none in the world. What you need to know to provide third-party validation is that they've complete integration with with the likes of Lightspeed and Spotify to provide real-time point-of-sale data, aggregation, analytics to either the customers of Lightspeed or the retailers on Shopify. And they also recently signed a $250,000 data consultant agreement with Azincourt Energy, similar to this one. Kiaro is one of Canada's largest retailers of cannabis with 16 locations and forecasted annual revenue of $42.7 million from these locations, not including growth, at a gross profit of $13.7 million. There's more to come, more growth there. Together, they've signed a data consulting agreement to help Kiaro process all of this mass data from all those retail operations. Let's talk about it. Gents, welcome to the show.
Thanks, George.
Thanks, George.
Hey, Dan, let's start with you because, you know, Agoracom hears a lot from Rob. So let's hear from somebody else, okay?
Yeah, for sure.
The press release says, Kiaro to leverage the power of Fobi real-time AI to transform your approach to cannabis retail. Put that to layman's terms. What did it mean when you first saw Fobi, and what's it going to mean for your blowing up business?
You know what, George, it's hard to capture kind of what I've seen and what the capabilities are in one go. Because at the beginning, we were looking, we're a tech-forward, data-forward cannabis retailer. And at the beginning, we were looking to solve our challenges and what we had the opportunity to do in cannabis. But I'll do it in two parts. I'll talk about that, but then I'll talk about how when I saw what Fobi has as a platform to develop, I was just blown away. So
wow.
I have a tech background, computer science background. I own a good chunk of an AI company that I sold back in 2016. And I was still super blown away to see their platform. So I'll tell you what we need and then what we can do. In cannabis retail, our retail information is segmented. Even the POS systems we use, the backend systems we use, they're still being developed and they're not talking to each other. They're different. So for instance, we're in Ontario with this new package we bought, and they need two different POS systems to do the same thing because one doesn't do delivery and one does. And so you can just see already how it's so disconnected. We're the first company in Ontario even to use a big ERP in the back end out of all the companies that are already there. So the fundamentals with this acquisition and everything we need to integrate in some analytics and some insights into what we already need, organize our data, see where it is and give us insights so we can better integrate and better have those tools. It doesn't just do that. It goes beyond that, which I'm excited to get into once we have the data. I mean, I'll let Rob speak to it, but I mean, the fact that what's being correlated on the Fobi system is I've never seen before. You got weather data, seasonal data, so all these other metrics of hey, what is driving traffic in your stores and what's really happening there. It's amazing. So I don't know if I explained it, well there, but it's two parts. Is what do we need currently as a cannabis retailer, growing cannabis retailer, and man, the phenomenal opportunity of exploration of tying these other data points and using AI to do it. If you're just going to blow your competition away unless they catch up and do the same thing.
And you've said before that it's pretty challenging for retailers just to know what's going on in their stores in real time, let alone all the way down to the customer. Right? How's this relationship with Fobi going to change all that for you?
Well, it's going to tie it all together. I mean, what we're going to work on is that architecture of that whole ecosystem. From when we're getting products in the door, what products we're getting, how is all that organized, all the way to the customer and who's purchasing. So I think it's going to give us full transparency from every point of our system of where we touch in our supply chain. And I think Rob can speak more to that, but that's really what the expectation is, to build that superior infrastructure, that architecture, to really run our business and have data-driven decisions.
Rob, what does it mean to you to hear, and I don't think it's the first time, but what does it mean first, just what Daniel said, to hear from someone like him who's got a computer science background, has sold an AI company, for him to be blown away? Is that the first time you've heard something like that, or is that something you're hearing more and more in a lot of your big discussions with customers and potential customers?
No, we hear it all the time. I mean, that's what we built, the power of what we built, the dynamic components of it, and the end of it. I'm very excited because, quite honestly, when I looked at Kiaro, the digital innovation that they've come to market with is second to none. They're one of the largest retailers within the country. They're absolutely crushing it. If you look at their revenues, this is a huge opportunity for us, something that we're very excited about. It's our entry into the cannabis market, which is absolutely right for us because it's another fragmented, regulated industry. Perfect for the Fobi technology and solving problems around interoperability, data aggregation, real-time action. So no, we're quite excited about this. I think Kiaro is growing very quickly, as we saw with their Hemisphere acquisition. The story behind the company is relatively new, and I see it as a huge opportunity.
So I'm glad you brought up what you said about entry into the cannabis in the cannabis vertical. This isn't just a one-off for you. Kiaro is going to be, and I think it's right to say, Rob, that because Kiaro is such a tech-forward company already, they're probably one of the best you could have started with to prove to the rest of the industry about your capabilities. So what's your plan for the cannabis industry? Because cannabis retailing is massive.
Yeah, it is. We've been approached for quite some time now, George, by the largest brands, largest LPs, largest tech companies. It's something that we wanted to wait for the right time. And obviously, when I looked at Daniel and what he was doing with Kiaro, we wanted to launch here first with one of the best performing companies in the cannabis market, for sure, bar none. When we looked at the execution of their senior management team, it's quite something. I mean, if people spend some time, do some due diligence around who's involved with the company, it's extremely, extremely impressive. And we're going to be moving very quickly, George, as you'll see in the cannabis space. It's completely ripe for disruption for Fobi.
Dan, want to come back to you. Clearly, you're growing. M&A is a big part because you just announced that acquisition. That was fantastic, and congratulations. How much comfort does this deal, does this agreement with Fobi, this relationship with Fobi, bring you, knowing now you can go forward with more M&A and not have to worry about all those interoperability issues that come with, because acquisitions are great until someone has to make them work. How much comfort does this give you now to just go on a real growth cycle here?
So this is a great question, George. This is our first major acquisition of this many stores, and we run formal project management here as any good tech retailer should. And looking at our plan and everything that takes into consideration, I mean, man, just having the foresight and the ability to go in. So, for example, the Hemisphere stores do run different platforms than we do. You know what I mean? So we're not able to pull data from that. We're not able to kind of bridge that data in the short term. We actually have to do a cut period. It's careful what I say here, but there's a little cut period to do transition on the systems, where you have to actually shut down some systems and stuff like that. And so it's this downtime. So every acquisition will have a little bit of downtime, as most companies will when you're running two systems. This should allow us to really minimize, if not eliminate, that downtime and get that data and just to analyze the data. So we're pulling data out of a system that we don't even operate right now. So to be able to take that data, organize it into our system, have Fobi go and plug in and bring it right in so we can see what's happening. Even the amount of time and resources it saves you is, what I'm seeing is phenomenal. So
I was about to ask you that. I was about to ask you that. If you could contextualize for everybody, how much time and resource, since you said it, time and resources you're saving that otherwise, if Fobi wasn't around, looks like it would have been a really difficult task to get done.
I'd say Rob can quantify maybe even more than I can, but I would say just the sheer cut time of transition, like just the sheer downtime that you could avoid is one thing. It's just like continuity of the business, getting the data. I can't even quantify, how much can be learned from the insights of the data that you're pulling in. Because any other company that doesn't have the aggregator and the organization of that data, you will never gain those insights. But connecting all those things to our system, to pulling them in, I don't even know how much I could quantify it. But it's massive. I mean, Rob, in your experience, maybe you could speak to that about how much is actually there. How much do you actually know the scope of what we're looking at here?
How much of a lifesaver is Fobi?
Yeah.
The challenge for any acquisition. We've done several here at Fobi in last year as well, and you've got multiple different data touch points across all of your banners now. And in Daniel's case, we provide the interoperability, real-time connectivity, real-time ingestion and output. The challenge for the retailers, George, and for those at home always is, they've got data, as Daniel knows, they've got data coming out of their yin yang, but it's how do we action and leverage and monetize that? How do we create, actionable strategies to provide a better digital contextual experience for the shoppers? How do we leverage the known user to maximize wallet share and spend? So when you look at a company with the growth trajectory as Kiaro and their targets for revenue, I'm willing to bet that from what we're able to provide to that, we even see an additional 10% on top of that, just simply with the efficiencies of real-time interoperable data connectivity.
10% revenue top line or EBITDA?
Yeah, 10%. That's kind of the standard. What we see, what we've seen across the board is 10% is kind of the minimum baseline. That's just streamlining the operation from a data connectivity perspective. Once we start to implement all the strategies around data monetization, it's extremely valuable. So, 10-20% is simply not unattainable to George.
And and Dan, in retail of anything, a 10 or 20% improvement is massive. It's help people understand at home how big that. And by the way, want to make sure for everyone at home, neither Rob or Dan are projecting, what this is going to do. The company Kiaro has already put out their expectations for about 43 million in rev, 13.7 in gross. So, but theoretically speaking, Dan, if Fobi is able to deliver that, how big is that to any retailer to have that kind of improvement to their operations?
I'd say in a sense, given what I think the cost of what we're doing here is nominal compared to that'll hit right to the bottom line, essentially. Like all the stuff you're saving on the top when you're running it, you're going to see it on the bottom line. It's massive. For retailers, we run tight margins in competitive environments. It's massive. You'll definitely see an impact on the bottom line of those savings because we're talking tech and efficiencies here.
By the way, gents, clarification for me and maybe for some people at home. Does this also mean that Fobi devices will be going into all the locations, or is this all the data being shot back to a data warehouse and then Fobi deals with it? How's this going to look from an operational point of view?
Well, we'll do whatever we need to do to, once we start to look at the new acquisitions, all the various data touch points, George, whether it's Fobi devices or APIs or whatever we need to ingest everything to the data warehouse, we'll do whatever it takes. We have all the tools in the box, so we're not concerned about that. I think one other key points too that we should mention is the value here comes from understanding your customer ultimately, right? Everyone, especially in the retail, and Daniel and his team with the traditional retail background they have as well, on building out franchise models like they are here successfully doing, it's always about understanding the customer, right? Everyone's moving towards personalization, as you'll start to hear over and over, all CPGs, all retailers. Daniel's going to have the leverage and capabilities of that right out of the gate here. So I think it's something that provides tremendous value to their organization from a top level, but more importantly from the shopping experience, which they already have is second to none. This simply enhances that to create further wallet share and spend for their known users and converting unknown to known, which is the greatest challenge around acquisition and retention. That's where the data will leverage to focus to monetize that aspect.
Dan, is this some of the best money you've ever spent, given the ROI that you generally are going to be expecting from this?
You know, how can it not be? I mean, if anyone in business nowadays, if you're not thinking that your business needs to be a data-driven decision business, like data is the goal, data is your nervous system. I just don't know. You know, I kind of toy around with saying, if any company nowadays, if you're not a data company, if you're not if that's not your base, if that's not where you live, it's going to be very challenging for you. You know, and with Fobi, again, I'll say it again, I've never seen the correlation of data that I've seen on the system before. And obviously proof to Fobi and congrats to Rob, getting big company names in, right? The massive corp, you know what I mean? And almost, you know, grateful to be the first cannabis company to be able to be engaged with this system. You know, we're a new industry. We have very inferior data organization collection. And Rob's saying beyond that attribution and unknown to known, massive. You know, getting cannabis-based and retailers, even getting to know your customer, getting the information on the rec side. It's not medical. We don't need their name. We don't need their phone number. We don't need all this stuff. So getting to know our customer and then attributing and just getting to know our market, that's where we want to be. We consider ourselves, you know, one of our retail kind of purposes is the most empathetic company. How do you be empathetic? You got to know your customer. How do you know your customer? You know your customer through data. Because at the end of the day, you're giving them exactly what they want, when they want, how they want it. Like that is it. That is our world nowadays. And as it should be. We have the ability to do that. We don't have to guess anymore. We can just deliver exactly what someone wants. And that's it.
That's fantastic insight. And by the way, I mean, it's great that you congratulate Rob, but I think don't sell yourself short either. Congratulations to you guys building a really powerful cannabis retailer, almost coast to coast, with more to come. Congratulations, guys, to both of you on joining forces together to deliver great efficiencies. It's going to be a great Canadian, you know, tech joint venture story. I know it's not a joint venture, but you know, it's a great tech partnership, and looking forward to what you guys can be able to deliver and have you back on maybe, Dan, a couple months, 2-3 months, when you've got a real chance to see the impact and have you both back on to talk about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Because you asked me some questions there that we're gonna have some look backs and see exactly what it did. So I'm really excited to see that.
Rob, you up to the challenge? A couple of months, we're gonna have to couple look backs and see if you're able to deliver. Any concerns that you guys can be able to live up to the challenge?
George, no, I'm pretty confident.
I know you are.
I don't think we even touched on the data sales and stuff, so I'm very confident. So thanks, George.
Thanks, guys. Much appreciated. We know you're both busy. The fact that you take the time out like this to talk to everybody is great, to provide that contextual info. For everybody at home, you've been watching, you've been listening by podcast to both Rob Anson and Daniel Petrov. Rob, of course, from Fobi, Daniel from Kiaro Holdings. Start your due diligence if you've just discovered the other company, because there's going to be some crossover here. Get to the profile page on the Agoracom, and then from there, link over to the websites, do your deep dive due diligence. Thanks for joining us. Have a great day. See you next time. Hey guys, this video is over, but don't forget to help your company by liking it and even leaving a comment below. And then don't forget to help yourself by subscribing to our channel and never missing another great Agoracom small cap video.